kids. What time is it?
All right. Week 13 in the books. We're going to recap it. And, you know, people are probably wondering where our Week 12 recap is and our Week 13 picks. The videos are coming. We had to record them. I didn't upload them yet. We've been busy.
Yep.
So I'll get those out over the weekend. We'll get those up before the weekend's over, maybe by Monday. And we'll be back on track. And stuff just piles up, man.
Yep. I know it does.
It was much easier when I wasn't working. I had all the
time. Now you had all the time. I know.
Yeah. So
now everything's coming at us.
So, but I did catch you, and now here comes the drama. What happened this week? That's gonna be fun. There was some. Whoa! What happened there? Did you see that?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
That was weird.
There's some kind of ghost in there.
Ghost in the machine for sure. Man. Weird. So we'll start with this game. That's in 1 o'clock CBS. We had Cleveland at Tennessee. I went with the Titans. I just think they're superior. I was wrong. What about you?
Yeah. I went with the Titans too. And when I was watching the beginning of this game or first half of this game, I couldn't believe what happened. I mean, the Cleveland went up by like 4 touchdowns, even more than that. I think it was at least 4 touchdowns.
They just smoked them.
They smoked them. I mean, and once they went up by that much, they kind of took Henry out of the picture. Because you got to pass all the time.
Right.
This was Mayfield's game. I mean, we always talk about how Cleveland's formula is the running game, which they have a great running game, and you kind of minimize Mayfield's mistakes, but he was great in this game.
Yeah, he was.
Touchdown passes. He was really good, and it just took Tennessee out of their game early on, and they just were like running uphill the whole time.
I mean, the final score was 41-35. They only lost by 6 points, but it wasn't that close. It wasn't even.
It was more like them catching up later, but
it was garbage time scores.
Yep. It was shocking to me.
Me too, and especially because Cleveland to me was a phony 7-3. Like they hadn't beaten a good team when they played like Baltimore and Pittsburgh, and like they just got killed.
Right.
So this was really they just laid the lumber down on Tennessee.
Yep. It's just as soon as they just started really quick and they just kept scoring. I couldn't believe they scored like every time in the first maybe 5 or 6 drives, and they kept stopping Tennessee, and then it was too late.
To me, it's starting to look like what I thought was going to happen when OBJ went out. And I said, now OBJ is gone and the piano gets taken off Mayfield's back. It looks like it took a couple weeks, but they're starting to get in this groove. They're 9-3 now. This is the first time they've had 9 wins since 1994.
Yeah.
I still don't believe in them, but you got to give credit where credit's due. They're playing good football, and Stefanski might have thrown his hat in the ring for Coach of the Year.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they certainly look great for making the playoffs at this point, and they're now fully two-dimensional offense. I mean, they got the passing game and the running game, so watch out for them.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But boy, the 9-3 Cleveland Browns, and then conversely, the Titans and the Colts keep driving me crazy because every time you think like, this is the team that'll win the division. This is the other one's the wild card. They keep just trading places.
Yeah, they're on
back and forth.
They had a signature when they're on a roll. What happened?
Exactly.
I mean, I to me that's the way the NFL works. But geez, it's like,
yeah. The next game really proves that the NFL is a strange being.
Oh my
I put
God.
Heidi in there because the Heidi game was the famous game where the Jets had a lead with 2 minutes to go, under 2 minutes to go, back in 1968. That was the Super Bowl year for the Jets, and they switched away to show the movie Heidi, and in that minute 52 or whatever it was, the Raiders scored twice and won the game.
I think that's what
It's
happened
so
here.
crazy how history just stays with. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have the actual clip in here because we used it for Tuesday Night Mayhem. It's still here. What do you say we run it again?
Yep. I love. Well,
because we can talk about it all we want, but you have to see it.
Yep. You have to see it to believe it.
J-E-T-S. Jets, Jets, Jets. Just classic.
Jets coming. Carr put some air under it. Wide open is Ruggs for the touchdown. Miraculous. No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
Just incredible. This is simple. You're going to stutter it, and then you're going to go. And Lamar Jackson, he just stops his feet. And that's just situational awareness. Look, Henry Ruggs runs 4.27 40.
No one has designed more defenses in their life, probably, than you have. The Jets went 0 blitz on that play. What is your first reaction?
Dumbest call I've ever seen. And been around the thing for 58 years, 30 years as a coach. That's the dumbest call ever. There's no other way of putting it. Look, and it's not like cover zero. There's a time and a place for cover zero. That thing sure ain't it. It's just stupid.
I will say this. I agree, because to suggest that the Jets did this on purpose would suggest a level of aptitude that they have not demonstrated the entire season. It's much easier to assume than inept than some sort of brilliant. But Cindy, do we have the play before? Because it wasn't in the highlight, but it should be pointed out for those who didn't see the game. The Jets almost gave up a touchdown on the play before. The Raiders had wide open receivers behind the defense on consecutive plays. This was the second to last play, Rex. So how does this happen?
I guess that, look, these guys are horrible on defense. They have no idea how the hell you let anybody get behind you in that situation. No wonder Greg went cover zero, because they can't cover him anyway.
Wow.
I love Ryan Clark laughing the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with him.
No. Mike Greenberg is a big Jets fan, so for him to challenge their aptitude is rightful. I'm looking at that second to last play when Aguilar gets behind the defense, and Finley is standing still as Aguilar runs by him, and then he starts chasing him. Why are you flat-footed? Why are you flat-footed? I mean, Lamar Jackson, that corner on the other side with Henry Ruggs, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because he's a walk-on, he's an undrafted rookie. He's in a big spot, and he bit on a fake because he made a rookie mistake. He's not thinking, right? He's over-aggressive. But the play before, when Finley's just standing still, man.
I was watching that live, and I'm like, oh, the Raiders won. And it was like, oh, and it was like, oh, he overthrew him. Holy cow! I guess the Jets will pull this out. Boy, was I wrong. And I agree with you. I mean, I don't put it on that cornerback. I put it on, why don't you have a safety back there? Back in the end zone.
A couple of them,
or more than one. But
you should have a dime or seven or 8. Rush 3 and drop 8. Yeah. What are you doing? Like, you put everybody back. Put them in the end zone. You let them catch a pass underneath, tackle them in bounds, and the game's over.
That's the only thing that you can't let happen is them score a touchdown. So that
the theories were all over the place about the tanking and everything else. It could have been and stuff, but like Greenberg said, that would have to show aptitude they've not demonstrated all season long. They're poorly coached. They're poorly coached from top to bottom, starting with the head coach, Adam Gase, and right on down. Every coordinator, their offensive coordinator is inept. Their defensive coordinator is inept. I mean, you had an offensive coordinator and a head coach who had no idea what to do with Le'Veon Bell.
Yep.
I think it starts and stops right there. Right there. They don't know what to do with him. Well, if you don't know what to do with him, then you don't know what to do anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're ruining Sam Darnold's career. I'm shocked. But what was even more scary is I thought I was going to take a big L on that one because on
the Raiders side, what the heck? They should have never been in that position. It's like they look like world beaters 2 weeks ago, or maybe 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
against
the last
Kansas
2
City
weeks.
and then something happened after that game. It just they were completely drained for the rest of the year. It's like the last 2 games they played really bad, and now I'm worried about them.
I think they were very emotionally flat after the Chiefs game.
Right, but then they had a week to deal with that. I mean, they got
Well,
killed.
I think
and then
this is one of those Oreo games. The fluff in the middle. Let's face it, young athletes definitely love to read their own headlines, and they're thinking the Jets. All we got to do is show up,
just
right?
show up.
Just show up. So, yeah, shocking, but they found a way to get through it, and now they're 7-5, and their playoff dreams are still alive. Not dashed yet, but boy, oh boy. I mean, it got to the point where it was late in the game, and I had it on the radio, and I heard the Jets were probably going to win. And I actually was like, "Oh my god!" And at the same moment, in fact, we'll go to that game now. The same moment, this game had gone to overtime.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that either.
So I'm thinking, well, if the Jets win and the Jags win, it'll stay the same.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, it's almost like you wonder if the Jets looked up at the Jumbotron and said, "Oh, holy shit, the Jags might win. We have to lose."
I mean, I know you have to wonder that.
I know they say Greg Williams is notorious for calling that defense in late in games, and there's a whole film history of him doing this. But in all of the past instances, he's had 3 safeties back there to help out. This time he left the corners of the island. He left them out there alone.
You need
It
to
makes you wonder. So the call was consistent with his history, but the personnel package wasn't.
Personnel, no.
So interesting, to say the least. As was this game.
This was
another one. You're like, oh, Minnesota's fighting for their playoff lives. The Jags are terrible, and they're on the road. Blowout city, right? Nope.
Right. It was a good game. And ever since they started the last couple of weeks, Mike Glennon now.
Yeah, Mike Glennon. Yeah.
The Jags have been competitive with him. I guess and I think they Minshew has been ready to go, but they're still going with Mike Glennon, which tells you something that they'll probably going to be looking for a quarterback come next year.
Which is interesting because I think Minshew's pretty good. I wonder if his thumb is still not 100%. Like he might not be. I don't know.
I mean, I was reading he was practicing and everything, and he was begging to get out there, but I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's not fully.
Well, they're probably looking at Glennon and saying, you know what? Let's let Gardner heal up a little bit more because Glennon's not killing us.
Definitely not.
And they're not going anywhere anyway.
Right. That's true.
So they're probably, why rush Minshew back when there's no reason to do that? So we'll see. But you're right. I mean, they'd be fools not to be looking in the draft for a quarterback at this point. But I think they got much bigger problems than that, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. They need people all over. And Minnesota, again, surprised they didn't just put this game right away.
They had Adam Thielen back, too, and just kind of laid an egg.
I mean, Cook did his over 100 yards, so I'm not sure what it was. This is more on their defense because Minnesota was up, and then their defense let the Jags back into it. So
yeah. So, but Minnesota hangs on now. They're 6-6, and they're on the playoff bubble. So, not bad for a team that started 1-5.
It still boggles my mind that well, there's another team that started even worse than that. That's back in the playoffs, maybe. Yeah.
So next up, this one was kind of a nail biter and a lot of fighting. What was going on? A lot of bad blood in this game.
Yeah,
Tyler Boyd gets tossed. I have him on my fantasy team, and he caught the 72-yard touchdown and then got tossed. Thank God.
Oh, okay.
He at least had the one big score. So yeah, weird, just weird.
I mean, I didn't really like this game at all. Other than, the fighting was was the excitement of the game. Other than that, the gameplay was kind of.
With the Boar Bowl, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Dolphin defense did their usual. They stopped them. They gave up one touchdown and that's it. Had some turnovers. The offense wasn't that great. But they did what they had to do. I mean, they won by 2 or 3 scores. But still, I have a lot of questions on the Dolphins. That I think that there's like 2. Getting back to the fighting, was it on a punt return? I can't even remember his name, but just some really low hits on the punt. And the second time around, Flores, and I like this about Flores. He's there for his first. He went right out there and tried to challenge the Bengals for that hit, and he doesn't like his players being compromised like that, which is good.
No, he's a great coach. You have there are games like this. You just. In the season's a grind, and every once in a while you just don't have your A game, but you do enough to get by, and that's what good teams do. I watched the Steelers struggle with the Cowboys, and
that's a
couple of those games. It was like, well, why are you having so much trouble here? It just happens. So,
it goes back to what you said with the Raiders and the Jets. It's like, you don't just in the NFL, you don't just show up. You really have to take every team seriously. I don't care if they have 0 wins or whatever. You have to take them seriously, or you wind up with this.
Pro football players are the best of the best at on any team. And anything can happen. So So this one kind of played out like I thought it would, pretty much.
Me too.
I thought both teams would score into the 20s, but the Colts would win. I mean, there's really not much to say about this.
It was a competitive. The only thing I'm going to say is, I hate this. I know it's a team sport, and a lot of times we talk about the quarterback being, the one key player. You can't go down, whatever. For the Colts, if DeForest Buckner's not there on their defense, it's like they're the Detroit defense.
Yeah, they're pedestrian, very pedestrian.
And when he's there, and which explained how they got killed the previous week, and then this week. They were great again. It's like I don't know how. I would say he's probably the most valuable player on both sides of the ball there.
I agree with you.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's just 2 sacks in this game, I believe, and he just stops the run and pressures. It's like it's amazing how that defense gets. It's a big change when he's there.
You're right. And in a team game like this, it's generally not the case that one guy can make that big of a difference, but
he does.
It really does. Yeah. So I know we put a fork in both of these teams at Thanksgiving.
Well,
but I really thought the Bears would win at home.
So did I.
But I should have paid attention to the fact that every time a coach gets fired, the replacement or interim coach get to win the first week, and I didn't pay attention to that.
I thought about that, and I still didn't think it would be enough. It's the Lions, damn it. Just didn't think it would be enough. But how did the Bears, like, they had their best offensive output of the year?
With Mitch Trubisky,
yeah, and he actually played decent. Their offense was moving the ball. Of course,
Montgomery had a good game.
Detroit, I get it, but how they lost this game with their defense. For once, their offense is doing well. How their defense couldn't stop Detroit, I don't know. And I know it goes back. That's key. They changed the coach, so I guess they got energized by that.
Yeah. I mean, usually when the coach gets fired, it's a reflection on the players. The players take it personally that they failed the coach, right? Especially if they like him as a person.
Yeah.
So, it generally rallies the team. They have something to prove. So, yeah, well, my bad. I just thought the Bears started 5-1.
Yeah, that's the opposite of
they've lost 6 games in a row now.
The opposite of Minnesota.
So, speaking of firing coaches, is Matt Nagy gone at the end of the year? 6-game losing streak. They're done.
I think he should be.
Yeah, I think he should be too. Of course, he didn't draft Trubisky. That's not his fault. But at the same time, I mean, their offense is so vanilla. I mean, when did he stop calling offense? Like 3 weeks ago, was it?
Yeah, I believe so.
About 3 games ago. He said, okay, I'm not going to call the plays anymore. Right. They had the most high school looking offense I've ever seen. I mean, it was about as basic as it gets. But it hasn't changed. It's still bad. I don't know. Well, this one was another one of these games where it's like, yeah, this is exactly how I figured it was going to play out. I mean, the only thing that's surprising to me is Taysom Hill is actually putting up some yardage now with his arm.
Yep. He played the first time we saw him play really good at quarterback with the passing. Yep, 2 touchdown passes. It was like 200 something yards. He looked good. These two teams met a few weeks ago, and it was a complete blow. I didn't think it was going to be a blowout the second time either. So this was a pretty close game. But the Saints defense matches up so well with the Falcons offense, and they kept them at bay. And then Taysom Hill. The other thing that was noticed that for the Saints, the last couple of weeks, even though they've been winning, Kamara has not been a big part of that other offense, but he was.
Tell me about it. He's on my fantasy team. He's killing me.
Well, I thought that was like a reflection of like whatever offense Peyton had to put out there for Hill. That it didn't make sense to me. Why would you minimize Kamara's contribution? You would think it'd be the other way around. But
it might be a situation where they're using Kamara as a decoy to open up holes for Hill to run, maybe with some designed runs for Hill. I haven't been watching these games. I've been watching highlight packages and whatnot. I haven't watched these games live, so I haven't seen. I mean, to me, Taysom Hill's just Tim Tebow reincarnated. However, this morning, Keyshawn Johnson said that the Saints are 8-0 without Drew Brees. So whether it's Bridgewater or Winston or Hill, it's working.
Maybe it's just taking a few weeks, and maybe Hill will prove to be a little bit more than just Tebow. I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe. So I'm guessing you got ambushed like I did with this one. This was I should say I was surprised, but at the same time, the Giants are my pick to win the division. They're so well coached, but I just thought going to Seattle
against the Seahawks.
I mean, granted, there's no crowd. And quickly back to the Jets game, the only thing that ruined that was the empty stadium.
Yeah.
If the Jet fans were there, they would have been committing suicide. It would have been awesome to watch what would have happened with the fans in the stadium. But anyway, back to this game. If the stadium's full, if Seattle has 12th man, they probably win the game, right?
Yep.
They were flat as a pancake. I mean, I've never seen, and there was one play specifically that sticks out to me anyway, that might have changed the whole complexion of the game. They blocked a punt early in the game, deep in the Giants' territory. They blocked the punt. It went in the end zone. And when they went to fall on it, the guy's arm, I forgot who recovered it, but his arm was out of bounds, which made it a safety, not a touchdown. If Seattle gets a touchdown on that play, the whole game might have changed. But instead, they got 2 points. So it was 5-0 at that point.
I remember seeing that halftime. 5-0. What are we in baseball?
Mariners over Yankees, 5-0. It was a defensive game, definitely on both sides. Wilson didn't look very comfortable at all. And to me, the Giants are just getting better and better.
Yeah,
they're on a roll.
Their defense, especially. I mean, they kept that team in this game until the offense woke up later, which was their only chance they had. What they did to Wilson, I've seen other defenses do something similar, but I didn't expect the Giants to do it. But they're getting really. That defense is getting better and better every week. And then Alfred Morris, they just not just picked up. They picked up a few weeks back to shore up their running game. And he scores 2 touchdowns, and away they go.
Yeah, Alfred Morris. God, how old is he now? He's been around. I mean, he's been around a long time. But you know what? I've said it over and over again. I think it just the losing Saquon Barkley in week 2 took a good 3 to 4 weeks to figure out what to do. They brought in Freeman. I think once they figured it out, I mean, they've been a winning team since. So.
Yeah, and
good for the Giants.
And what's even more shocking, it's that they didn't have Jones in this either. Colt McCoy was
that's right. Colt McCoy was the quarterback. I forgot.
I didn't even give him a chance in this game because Jones was out. But geez, they overcame a lot. You're right. They're very well coached. I'd be like, we'll be looking forward for the next few years how competitive the Giants are going to be with this coach.
If they get a better offensive line, the sky's the limit. They'll get Barkley back.
Barkley, yeah.
They need another receiver, but I think they're well on their way. They've got a world-class tight end, and their defense is rock solid. It's ironic. I think the only really weak spot besides the offensive line on this team is special teams, and Judge was a special teams coach.
That is ironic. You're right.
He might be looking for a new special teams coach in the offseason. The head coach, he doesn't handle all the.
Right.
It's funny because a lot of people they're football fans or football junkies, but they put too much on the head coach. Like everything's his responsibility.
Yeah.
No, the head coach is too busy being the captain, and that's why you have specialized, coaches that handle these specialized tasks.
Yeah, I mean, they have linebacker coaches, receiver coaches,
exactly,
secondary. For every unit, So,
but it's just funny. You hear people calling WFA and special teams are terrible. That's Judge's. Judge's falling down on the job.
No.
That's not Judge's job. He's the head coach. He's more worried about game planning for the opponent. So,
but somebody like him, he'll definitely look into that, and like you said, get a new special teams coach.
Yeah, probably. So I think the Saints are the most balanced team in the NFC, but the Rams are right there.
Wow,
the Rams are right there. They're coming on strong. Really. Yeah.
How many games in a row is for the Cardinals now? It's like 4 out of 5 they lost, I think. This
is wrong, by the way. The Rams are 8-4.
Well, yeah, okay. I was so high on the Cardinals a few weeks ago. I thought they even had a good chance to win that division, and it's like ever since then. And I bring it back to that shoulder injury that Kyler Murray.
Mm-hmm.
And since then his running production has been like almost I think he got 15 yards this game, and when he doesn't do his running and keeping kind of the defense focused on that, then it hurts their passing, and that whole offense kind of takes a step back.
It's his throwing shoulder too, so I think that's affecting his throwing. It's a shame. I mean, Fitzgerald's out with COVID. Not that Fitzgerald's a big part of their offense anymore, but what Fitzgerald is now is Hines Ward. He's the third down safety valve in the middle of the field.
Right.
He's got the great hands. He makes the combat catches for first downs, and he was gone, and they didn't have that. So on the Rams side of the ball, I mean, they are just, their defense is sick.
They're so
and
good.
Getting better.
Yep, they probably have their secondary is really strong, and they're comparable to the Steelers secondary. They can take away your best receiver with just one guy, and then concentrate on everybody else, and it's just
that was their problem last year. Their secondary was horrible.
Yep.
So McVay has fixed. He's righted the ship, and aside from New Orleans, this might be the next best team in the NFC at this point in time.
Yeah, after the Seahawks kind of shot themselves in the foot, looks like the Rams are in the perfect place to win that division too.
And you know how this works. You want to get hot going into the playoffs. You get hot now, and the Rams look like they're heating up big time. So, I mean, we never cover the Thursday night games because it gets trapped in our work schedule. It's too much. But last night they laid the lumber to the Patriots. Now they're 9-4. So, boy, oh boy.
Yeah, they made that Patriots team look horrible. I mean,
look out for the Rams. Yeah. Speaking of that Patriots team, I'm proud of myself for this pick. I just had a feeling. I know they're on the road, and I know the Chargers can put up points, but I have a feeling Belichick's going to make some kind of a run at this thing. After last night, I'm not so sure anymore. But
yeah, last night.
But they went from 4-6 to 6-6. It was looking good. As for the Chargers, that was the one. I thought New England would win, but not like that.
Yeah, same here. I picked the Patriots, but not because I had any kind of confidence that they were that much better of a team, and I was afraid. I was a little bit afraid about traveling to the West Coast. But I only hung that pick on one thing. Belichick is going to make Herbert look human because he's a rookie, and he always comes out with these ways to confuse the young quarterbacks, and that was the only thing. But never did I think it was going to be this 45-0.
Yeah, it was. They scored every way you could. Special teams, defensive touchdowns, offensive touchdowns. I mean, it was just and shut out a team in the Chargers who routinely score 30 points.
Yep, that was the
and
first
they were
time.
at home, in a big prime time, and that wasn't prime time, but it was one of the showcase games in the afternoon. The 4:00 games are showcase games. Just not what I expected. I thought this was going to be more like 27-24.
Right.
One of those kind of things. It's shocking, absolutely shocking.
And Cam Newton didn't do much through the. I know he ran the ball, but both quarterbacks, I don't even think they reached 100 yards through the air, did they?
Yeah,
Maybe it was like really. It wasn't
high school game where they run the RPO.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Did we put a fork in Philadelphia? Yeah, we did, right?
I think we left the NFC East alone for all
we did. You're right. We left it alone.
But I would have loved. I think we were leaning that way, but
I think we both said that Philly and Dallas were pretty much out of it, but we couldn't mathematically eliminate them. But by eyeball test, they're out of it. Carson Wentz is a chucker, man. I've been saying it for 3 years. Nobody would listen. Finally, Doug Peterson listened. He's benched. It's over. He's a chucker.
He couldn't move the ball at all. He missed wide open receivers. He just turnovers, took four sacks, and when they finally mercifully he was taken out of there, it's like and Hurts, led him to one score, and then I believe they scored on a punt return as well to kind of make it not a big blowout, but this was a blowout.
I just noticed I made an error in my notes. I have Green Bay, and I put a loss next to that.
Oh.
Whoops. I got to fix that. So, yeah. Crazy. The Eagles are just, they're non-competitive. And, I have to ask a question. I don't understand. I mean, I know that they got Rager back and they got their team's healthy again for the most part. They're still missing Ertz, but they were using Travis Fulgham in the middle of the season when they had nobody else. And that guy was a beast. I picked him up off waivers in my fantasy league. He was doing really well. They won't even target him anymore. Well, what are they doing? The guy's a beast. What are they doing? They're throwing to Ward and they're throwing to Rager and Rager's your big draft pick. Okay. Ward? Fulgham's way better. Sorry. This is why they're 3-8, 3-8-1.
And now it's I guess Hurts is starting, right? It's like
Jalen Hurts starts this week, so that's going to be interesting when we make our picks this week. This one, another one of these. Yeah, well, this was
kind of a whole hum game, but it was a lot. I couldn't believe
how
close it was with the score. Jeez,
boy, was I frustrated watching this because I had Patrick Mahomes, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah,
killed me.
It was another one of the. I mean, he got his 300 yards, but not a lot of touchdowns. And it's just like it's another one of those things. So that they just think they could just show up and kind of like relax the game. They didn't like score. They held the ball a lot, but they didn't score. They didn't put a lot of points up.
No, they had one touchdown taken off the board. Hill scored because there was a holding penalty or something, and they just didn't look in sync. They just looked sloppy. I don't know. I don't know what term to put on it.
A byproduct of playing a sloppy team. You kind of played
at the level of the competition. They also have the game with Miami coming up this week, so they could have been. I guess,
but.
It was shocking because I figured with Denver's issues, in the secondary, that Mahomes would just go nuts and score, throw for 430 yards, 5 touchdowns, and Just didn't happen. Didn't happen.
Could be that their game plan kind of didn't work the way it was, and then they kind of had to make adjustments.
Yeah. The Broncos were in a position there at the end, but
exactly.
couldn't make it work. So the next game, I went with my team, but I shouldn't have, because I was saying it offline to everybody I knew, all my Pittsburgh Steelers friends. I'm like, they're going to lose this week, and everybody's yelling at me. Oh, come on, it's Washington. I said, have you watched the Steelers play the last couple of weeks? They are going to lose this game. If Washington comes in and plays hungry, they will lose, and that's exactly what happened. Worse, they had a 2-score lead. That's what makes it worse.
I wish I had the guts to pick Washington.
I didn't have the guts to do it either.
But I thought that it would be a close game despite the records.
Why does it say 5-6?
Yeah, I was saying despite the records, but I'm like, wait, why are these records so close?
No, wait, wow. What happened there? Okay.
Yeah, the Steelers are not 5-6.
No, they're not. They're playing like they are. They don't have any kind of running game at all.
I thought it would be close because of the defensive line, and I'll say defensive line would have been the key. Like on the, I know the Steelers have a good defensive line, but teams have been running on them a lot, and I know Washington's running game has been. Although it didn't matter in this game because Gibson was injured early on, so I mean, I guess that throws that out the window.
I'm on my fantasy team.
But the Washington defensive line, I thought, would put, completely stop. The Steelers don't seem to have a running game right now, and kind of put a lot of pressure on Roethlisberger. I mean, they did, but they didn't. But I don't think he even got sacked. I don't know. I think the trouble with the Steelers at the moment is like kind of like they're turning into a one-dimensional offense. The defense is still good, but they got to get a running game.
What makes it worse is that they're throwing the ball 50 times and Roethlisberger's up around 260 in yardage. They're throwing the ball 2 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards. They're not stretching the field. They're not able to use play action because they can't establish any kind of run. They're throwing it on 3rd and 1s and 4th and 1s instead of running because they can't, which is weird. You got a 6'5" quarterback just tip forward at the yard. It's their defense is in shambles right now. They're losing all their good linebackers. They're all getting hurt. If Spillane's gone now, it's a mess. It's a mess. Like I said about the Rams heating up at this time of year, this could potentially be the 3rd year in a row the Steelers go in the tank this time of year. The last 2 seasons they missed the playoffs because they had a horrible December. They're guaranteed the playoffs this year. I mean, they can lose out and they're 11-5. But I got a bad feeling. I've been against Randy Fichtner as the offensive coordinator from the day he was hired. The guy's a complete buffoon, and I want him gone. And he's showing that now. I don't understand what kind of game plan this is. It's not effective with all the weapons on that team. The fact that they have struggled to move the ball is insane.
Yeah, they're not stretching the defenses. You're right. They're doing like the dink and dunk.
They're predictable.
When they went up 14-0, I thought it was over. But it's like, did you see that? Like what Smith did? It's like at the end of the first half to get the field to get.
Oh, when he ran off the field with the ball.
How did the refs not notice that? So they stopped the clock, and they didn't have no timeouts, but they stopped the clock because of the ball, and they gave him a chance to score.
You know what though? I see that as football karma because the week before, in a similar situation, the Steelers linebacker Vince Williams laid on top of the Ravens running back there.
Right. I remember that.
And ran the timeout on them.
I just thought it was.
So turnabout is fair play, right?
I mean, I'll just say this one real good thing about what I've noticed about Roethlisberger. Like, I don't think there's an issue with him at all.
No.
Like he goes back to pass, like you said, 50 times the last couple of weeks. Doesn't get sacked at all. To me, that tells me he's got the timing of his release right on, like the quick release right on schedule. It's like he knows exactly when to let go of the ball because he hasn't been 100 time drop back in the last 2 weeks and no sacks. That's amazing.
No, but he has also been victimized by 13 drops by his receivers and
That's
tight
the other
ends.
side of it, yeah.
So they got to get their poop together. They're not looking good, and I have a feeling that the team here that beat up on San Francisco is
Oh,
going
boy.
to womp on
That'll be a
Pittsburgh this
good
week.
game.
I think the Steelers have no shot. They're going to be 11-2. So anyway, but that's for the other show.
Yeah.
This one, this another one of these games that played out exactly like I thought it would. The 49ers are too depleted, and Buffalo is high-powered, and that was that. So
I thought
the Bills' defense is really coming around lately too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the one big difference that their offense has now max is at, like, they're playing as well as their potential, and now their defense is catching up. They're really like at a point where they're in time for their run. I really thought San Francisco would at least keep this close because they beat the Rams the previous week, and thought they were kind of like, not that they're going to make the playoffs, but they're going to kind of just get it together. But
Play the spoiler role.
Yeah, but Josh Allen was like amazing in this game. Jeez.
Yeah. Well, he's a good quarterback, and the 49ers also, the week before the Rams, those are divisional games, and divisional games, you come in with a different mindset,
That's true.
This was an AFC team coming, and it wasn't even they weren't even home. They had to go play in Arizona as a home game too. So it was, because of the stupid restrictions up in Santa Clara County. So they had to, three weeks they have to stay away?
Yep, 3 weeks.
That's awful.
It's crazy.
To compound their problems this year, right?
I mean, luckily they're not like, up for like a division or number one seed, because that would have really hurt them.
Right. It's pouring salt on a wound of a team that's already the walking wounded, and they might have the most injuries this year, the most important injuries this year of any team. And it started with Bosa week 2. It's just downhill from there. And then the last game of the week, we had the dullest Cowboys go to Baltimore and surrender almost 300 yards in rushing.
300 yards, unbelievable.
Yeah. So it's amazing with Baltimore. Like, it's like, it's coming. Just, you have to stop it. And if you can't, you lose, because they're not going to beat you with Lamar's arm. They're not going to beat you really in any other way.
Right. So how is your defense not ready for this? I think Lamar had 65 yards passing or something.
Something like that. Yeah.
It's like more yards rushing than passing, and they still couldn't stop it. I mean, they basically could commit 10 in the box and still couldn't stop it. Unbelievable. I mean,
Baltimore was playing desperate too. They had to win. If they fall to 6-6, so I don't know. We'll see how this shakes out. I want the Ravens out of the playoff picture. That's just me, but they're such a weird team this year, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, they're almost proving what I've been saying the last couple of years. I'm like, Jackson, once they get film on Jackson, he's not going to be the Jackson of 2019 ever again. He just reminds me too much of Cordell Stewart, and quarterbacks like that. I don't know.
I'm still baffled because I remember him having a little bit better passing last year. I'm not sure why it's so.
He does have he has a receiving core with very little talent.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the best receiver is Marquise Brown, but he's like 5'5". I mean, he's a little guy. Snead's out with the COVID. Andrews is out. Like, they don't really have.
Yeah. Okay.
Your best receiver is your tight end, Mark Andrews. So they don't really have. I mean, when the week before when they played Pittsburgh, you could see it. They had nobody to throw the ball to. And I'm granted it was RG3 playing that game, but same thing though. I mean, he's the same style quarterback, and they had the same game plan basically.
Yeah, basically the same thing. Yep.
Right. So that was that. The week 13, we had a weird bye week. It's the last bye week, and only 2 teams.
It's kind of crazy to have a bye week at this juncture.
This late in the game, right? And only 2. They couldn't figure out a way to squeeze those 2 teams in some other week back. Strange, but So that was week 13. So let's look at our season totals. So I ended up 10-5 because I don't know why I put Packers and put an L next to it. So that brings my season total to 51-29. What's yours? What were you?
What did I say? 9-6? 9-6.
9-6 brings you to 50-30. So I've leapfrogged you by one game.
Yep.
Ooh, snap! It's getting close.
Yep.
I was 5 games behind like 5 weeks ago.
I know.
You know what? I said I was going to start taking risks on certain teams because that was the only way to catch you is to start making some crazy picks, right? And I've been lucky that a couple of them have actually paid off now and then. Like picking the Patriots to beat the Chargers, you know? Like, I just got to do stuff like that because I'll never catch you otherwise. So now good. We're neck and neck with 4 weeks.
Now it's time for me to be crazy.
Well, it's one game. Now
we're go way down. And then be down by 5 if I do.
Exactly. So that's going to wrap it up for week 13. Remember, you can find us on the socials at GeekTime Net on the Twitter, the Facebook, and the Insta. When's Twitter going to go out of business? God.
By the end of this year. No.
Yeah. And our website, geektimenetwork.com, where you can find links to all these videos, articles, and our audio show, Geek Time Radio. So I guess that's that, right? So we'll be back with our week 14 picks, and I will get the other shows that were not uploaded, so we can fill in the holes we left from last week. So, all right, we'll catch you guys next time. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe, make sure you click the little bell icon to be notified anytime someone from our show drops new content here. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.
Say, kids, what time is that?